All right, gang, last episode in segment number 9, and this is rolling out the info regarding the documentation necessary to move beyond the inspection contingency because, huzzah, buyer and seller have reached agreement on what is going to be credited or what is going to be repaired based on the findings in the inspection report that's been negotiated. Buyer and seller are happy with the compromise. Now we need to get it on paper. This is going to take place in the form of an addendum to your purchase and sales agreement, and here's why. Can you simply alter the purchase and sales agreement or have a new purchase and sales agreement signed that memorializes the agreement on repairs? You can. However, it is not anybody's business but the buyer and the seller what's been agreed to there, specifically not the business of the banks. The banks are there to lend based on what they understand, what their appraiser has been leading them to understand about your property and its value. Deficiencies found in, or lack thereof, in an inspection report paid for by the buyer are no business of the bank. And the bank has their own set of interests in this particular property as collateral for a loan. They'd love to know what went on in an inspection report, but they don't want to pay for it. So let's not offer them the information without having to. The bank will require the purchase and sales agreement to write the buyer's loan. It's a necessary part of their underwriting process and documentation to support it. The outcome of an inspection report is not, and we don't want to offer it to them. If we do, they may have their own requirements. They would invent, hey, this roof is deficient. We don't want to lend on this property until that roof is repaired. Meanwhile, you and the buyer agreed to a repair credit, and the repair is going to happen post-closing. Now you've just shot yourself in the foot, and somebody's got to come up with the money outside of that bank financing to affect the repair of the roof, and then people start turning their pockets out. Womp womp, I don't have that money, deal's dead. Don't do that. Use an addendum. Now, we real estate professionals have the benefit of the National Association of Realtors and all of the plug-and-play, fillable field documents available to us to fill out on your behalf to memorialize the agreement made between buyer and seller on the inspections. You don't need no Stinkin Realtor, so you don't have access to those documents. So make sure you're engaging your real estate attorney early. Make sure that they are providing you or creating the documents necessary to memorialize this agreement, and it will literally just be that. Changes made to section, paragraph, blah, blah, blah of the purchase and sales agreement. Buyer is agreeing to this credit, that repair, this credit, that repair. Buyer reserves the right to inspect any repairs being made after they are complete, which is always going to be the case. If you are agreeing to conduct some repairs as a seller, it's not just on your word that the buyer is going to buy this home. They want to see that these repairs have been completed. The addendum would then include a sign-off sheet that would eventually be initialed and signed by the buyer saying that they are satisfied with those repairs and we can move on with our lives. Meanwhile, the appraisal process is happening, the bank underwriting process is happening, so you have that time allotted to effect the repairs and then get the sign-off later on down the road. But make sure you're using those addendum. Now, everything needs to be memorialized in these addendum, every little bit. If you are agreeing to change a wall socket to a GFCI over a counter, that's got to be in there. Not just the big ticket items, not just the ones you feel are going to make the deal fly, but all. They all need to be memorialized and then eventually signed off that they have taken place. That's really much of what we want you to understand regarding documentation. But it's important to engage your real estate attorney in this process. There's a world of gray area and nuance when it comes to this sort of thing, especially if there is a marriage, a mixing of both repair credits that are being offered and items that the seller would choose to repair. It's up to you to determine which would be which. If you've got the handy acumen, you're good with your hands and you want to switch out a couple outlets to save yourself a couple bucks, fine. But hopefully you're not going up on the roof and repairing some chimney flashing to correct a leak when you have never done it before in your life. Save yourself money, yes, but don't incur extra medical expenses falling off a roof. That's it, guys. That wraps up our very turned up granular discussion on the inspection contingency. We can finally move on with our collective lives in educating you on how to survive the contract period of a real estate sale. I know your head is swelling, but this is segment number 9. We've only got 2 left for you to become the ultimately proficient self-home seller. We'll see you on the next segment. Deuces.